$1 million man always gets his way. I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
And the little child will lead them. Yeah. A little child will lead them. Buy our merch. Buy our merch. Who does that? What band does that? That's it was one of Gershok.
Oh, for the buy our merch. I thought the little child will lead us part. I'm like, I have no idea what band does that.
Well, that's not a band. That's
I know
the Bible.
I know it's the Bible, but I thought you said band because you did. Yes, buy Gershok's merch.
Buy Gershok's merch and Vin and Sori's merch. It's pretty awesome. Links down there in the thingamajiggy.
We're not wearing our merch.
This is we're wearing Pink Floyd and
Typo
Negative on Easter. That's what we need. Okay.
We do.
Okay, let's do it. This is another offering from the big homie Wackator. Wackator, you got Easter Sunday, my guy.
Who knew? We expected it.
Yeah, that wasn't planned.
No, it wasn't
at all. So, without further ado, Pagan's Mind, Revelation. What is it? Revelation's End or something like that?
Yeah.
Revelation to the end. Let's go. Goodness gracious. I love Wakator's picks, the ones that we've done at least today, because they're guitar driven. So does Booby, so does Ghosty, so does Fieldy.
They cheer from the back.
I call that Fieldy. That's actually James Hetfield's Jim Root. We forgot to introduce our friends, Shiny, and all those people. Yeah, man. Like, I you know, obviously I'm a guitarist, so I love when the guitarist gets some is featured.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, there's been a lot of, you know, bands, and I get it. It's 2021. It's like, how many iterations of things can you do on guitar? Mm-hmm. You got to include some synth and other things, and you know, we've got some synth parts in our stuff too. But
True.
For me, in metal, I feel like the guitar is the most important, and obviously, you know, it's very self-serving because I'm a guitarist.
I'm doing the staring contest. Oh, shoot.
I just think that the guitar is the most important. If you're talking about metal, the guitar is the most important thing, and it should be featured on every song. It should be driven.
That's because you play the guitar, so that's why you feel that way.
Or
that staring contest was for you, buddy. You said that you do that, so there it is.
I play the guitar because it's the most important instrument. See, it just depends on what side of the street you're on.
Oh, that's true.
So, it's a chicken or the egg, guy.
Study contradictions.
Shout out to the homie.
Yep.
So I truly love that stuff, man. And it's given me a lot of ideas and things of that nature. And when a guy in a band says that he's gotten ideas, it means they're going to steal something. That's what they're going to do. They're going to change a progression, a tempo, a key, or a note. But believe you me,
it means they're inspired by something.
It's on the way.
Depends on what you
It's on the way. All right, so we got the lyrics.
The sign of sheer destruction.
Yep.
As open sea embraces the land, the ancient signs, a warning at hand.
Okay, so that seems to be invoking the flood, right?
Oh.
Open sea embracing the land,
That's
ancient
true.
signs,
It does
warning
sound
at
like
hand,
that.
sign of sheer destruction. That's the flood, which is a brilliant way of saying it, right? The sea embracing the land.
Yeah.
Because an embrace is a positive thing.
Yeah, but not like that.
That's brilliant apposition. I love that. That's really, really good. Spiral twisters darkening the horizon, the fiery gates of hell unleashed, infernal darkness, all life has deceased. So it's interesting, like, it starts off with a flood, which is kind of like a naturalistic phenomenon, even though, you know, God did it, whatever. But then the flood gives way to the unleashing of demons in the gates of hell on the land. Right? Spiral twisters darken the horizon, the fiery gates of hell unleashed, infernal darkness, all life deceased. Killing fire, rising higher, demon bullets fight your enemy.
It kind of sounded like a volcano.
Yeah. The only reason I took the hell part literally is the next line says demon bullets. Killing fire, rising higher, demon bullets fight your enemy. Mm-hmm. So it looks to be like there's a sort of like disaster that's happening that sets off some spiritual invasion of dark forces. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting because it says all life has deceased. And then it talks about killing fire, demon bullets fight your enemy.
Yeah.
I think that pre-chorus explains how all life ended up being deceased. So he says all life deceased, and then he goes, let me explain to you what happened. Mm-hmm. When the hell was opened up or whatever, and the demons started invading, what they did was they inhabited people to kill.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like for the four horsemen, it was the red horse was war, and it was so that to take peace from the earth and that men may slay one another, I think is what it says about the red rider. And so it's really interesting. There is a sense in which like the devil, the demons, whatever you want to say, used our own propensity toward violence to destroy ourselves. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a very important distinction that needs to be made about what the Bible actually says about the relationship of the devil and humanity. Mm-hmm. I think there's like a misperception that Christians view Satan as a sort of like opposite equivalent to God, and that when bad things happen, it's the devil. Mm-hmm. That Christians automatically view the devil as the cause. I think they're from outsiders looking in, that's what they think we're saying. So people are like, oh, if God wanted to end all evil, why didn't he just destroy the devil?
Yeah.
A lot of Christians I've seen like don't answer that question very well, and it's because they're not addressing the fact that these people think that you believe that the devil has power to do all this terrible shit, and we're just kind of like pawns being back and forth between God and Satan. And it's our fault, right? You got that arm wrestling match between Jesus and Satan, but then when you read Thessalonians, Jesus shows up and destroys them with the word of his power.
The word of his mouth.
Jesus sneezes and the devil's like blown off into whatever. Like, shout out to Frieza. This is Dragon Ball Z, this guy named Frieza. But so but I like that the line "killing fire rising high, demon bullets fight your enemy" as the explanation for why we all died in the universe of the song. And it's because the devil very rarely in the Bible possesses people and makes them do things that they wouldn't otherwise do. That's very extremely rare in the scripture. What's most related in the scripture, which is a universal experience, demonic possession and things like that are not looked upon as the basic everyday experience of human beings.
Yeah.
Demonic possession really only happens in heightened spiritual revivals from a biblical perspective. So when Jesus shows up, obviously that's a heightened moment and so the demons basically step their game up. But what's more common in the Bible and what is universal to the Bible is the idea that we, because human beings have our own sinful nature, not influenced by Satan, just our own sinful nature, we have inclinations that are sinful that we want to express, that then the devil comes alongside and encourages people to do.
Yeah.
So he's called the tempter and he's also called the accuser. So what happens is he tempts you to fall into sin, and then when you do, he then goes to God and accuses you. And that's not a very terrifying role. It's kind of like a punk, like your punk little brother who tells snitches on you or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really appreciated that line, because the demons get let loose on the earth.
Friend.
The demons get let loose on the earth. It's like, oh no, this is terrible. And what do the demons inspire people to do? Kill each other with weapons. And it's very interesting. People talk about spiritual warfare. That's a phrase in Christianese that gets used a lot, and it's just talking about the battle to maintain your faith and maintain the life and morality that God wants you to live in the world. And it's so fascinating that the way to fight against this type of satanic influence is to be committed to pacifism. Because the only people that would be protected in a hellscape like this, and if you think about it, if there's a massive flood, there's a natural disaster, like a global natural disaster, the propensity for violence increases exponentially because now you've
resources are limited.
Exactly, which is what the
fear is on the rise.
Vast majority of wars are fought in human history due to, I argue all wars are fought in human history due to the desire for resources, and that religion then gets used as a cover, but the reality is you just want those resources. Which is one of the reasons why it's so fascinating that there were certain countries on the kill list, or the harem in the Old Testament, where God said, you cannot take any of this stuff. None of the cattle, none of the sheep, none of the whole thing. Set everything on fire and devote it to God. Yeah. And that's so that there could be a distinction that this is not a resource land grab battle.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, you were saying something about it seemed like the demons came down for the fighting or something like that. But remember there was that intertestamental or something where basically I don't know how to word it other than what I know. The demons taught them to fight. Demons are the ones that taught them how to make weapons.
That's Enoch. Yeah. The Enochian stuff. So that was during the beginning of the world, right before the flood.
Yeah.
But it wasn't demons. Those were B'nai Elohim. Right? So B'nai Elohim are powerful divine beings.
Right, but
that
not
go
good
and
ones.
do that. They're not demons.
Right.
Demons actually are so you have divine beings. People call them angels. They're really not angels. They're called sons of God. They're basically there's basically a Congress and a Senate and a House in heaven called the Divine Council. And so God presides over that Divine Council. And then there are people that are obviously beneath God, but we would look at as gods. Does that make sense? And their job is to guide humanity into the right worship of the Most High. And so Genesis 6 and the Enochian literature, what happens is some of these people on the Senate looked down, they saw the women were beautiful, and they all, shout out to the homie Shem Yaza, they all got together and were like, look, this is against the law, this is bad, and we're going to get in trouble if we do this, so everybody has to do it together. They're on Mount Hermon when they did that, which is really interesting because of Mount Hermon in the New Testament, but that's a different story. So then they get off, Michael Heiser has a book entitled something about Mount Hermon. Very, very interesting stuff. Really crazy
Check
stuff.
it out.
It's unbelievable. So anyway, so they all come down and they covenant together that, okay, we're all going to do this together. So they go into all these women and then they create offspring called Nephilim or the fallen ones or whatever. And these offspring are giants or and actually the text says these were the mighty men of old, the mighty men of old, the men of renown. Yeah, right. James. And so what happens is you have this combination between divine beings and human beings, and then that produces these superhuman people that are doing all these exploits. And in almost every other
crossover
religion,
Superman.
Right. In almost every other religion, philosophy, in the ancient world, those people were looked upon as good people, or heroic. Say it that way, men of renown. So, like Hercules, for example. Hercules would be an example, right? Zeus was one of the gods in the council. He comes down, he whatever with Hercules, his mom, and then boom, out comes this demigod. This guy, he's half divine, half human, and he does all these exploits. But if you look at his morality, Hercules wasn't a good dude, man. He was going around with like 15 different women a day and all this other stuff. Like, so anyway, the Old Testament, especially Genesis, remixes that, and it's singular in the ancient world that these are bad people. Like everybody else, in the Akkadian literature, all the rest of it, looked up to those people and they were amazing, blah blah blah. They were gods. You worship them. You've got one religion calls them sages and all the rest of it. Well, the Bible says they were just inherently evil because they were born under evil circumstances, and so God then punishes all these angels. Shem Yaz all these people. He puts these people in Tartarus, basically, which in Greek mythology, that's where the Titans ended up, was in Tartarus. Just really interesting stuff. And so then Enoch goes down to talk to them. They're like, hey, Enoch, God likes you, so ask him to help us and ask him to forgive us. So Enoch goes to God and says, hey, these people, blah, blah, blah. And God responds by saying, no, I'm not going to release you from Tartarus. And on top of that, I'm going to kill all your kids right before your eyes, and you won't be able to help them. And then so in the Enochian literature, that is the primary reason that God sent the flood. Right. Was to rid the world of these Nephilim, these half human, half divine beings who are evil. They were cannibalistic. They were rapacious. I mean, they were just horrible. Oh my God. Yeah, they were terrible, right? And so the flood comes, wipes them all out. Now the question is, okay, so they died. Where do their souls go? And so that is where, in my opinion, New Testament demonology comes from. Is that these, what you call a demon in the New Testament, are the souls of these disembodied beings who are still obsessed with being physicalized because they were all they knew was being in a physical body, and so that's why they always have to inhabit some corporeal thing. You don't see the devil. I have a thought. You don't see the devil ever asking to be in a physical body or any of the Benai Elohim. It's only a very specific class of being that is unsatisfied unless they're in a physical body. And so that's why a lot of people believe that the demons or the unclean spirits of the New Testament are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim in the Old Testament. Go ahead. What were we going to say?
Do you think that a case could be made that those demons would get progressively worse?
100%.
Okay. How?
100%. What do you mean?
What would... What would you say to prove that?
Well, just on the principle that, biblically speaking, when a person doesn't repent, their heart becomes progressively more and more hard. The trajectory of Romans 1 is, when you suppress the truth and unrighteousness, your mind becomes darkened and more darkened, so that you end up being, a fool and whatever. So we're Johnny come lately to that type of affliction as far as human beings go. These divine beings, they would experience the exact same thing. So biblically, they would be more hardened, more malevolent, more irrational in their hatred of God, but more precise in the way that they attack because they've had time.
When you think about anger and how anger, I guess you could say, gets in bed with bitterness, and then the child that they birth is oftentimes very, very miserable, very terrible. When you in your life embrace anger and you allow that to turn to bitterness rather than, I used to think that was like that a lot of Christianity was just like nice sentiments, you know what I mean, like a good way of living, and like but now I guess as I get older I start realizing
now you see
that
it's a
they're
bad way of living?
Absolutely necessary way of living, because if you hold on to your hatred or you hold on to your anger and you allow that to become, bitterness to just like live inside you, like it's really, really damaging. And so when you think about like people holding on to that and how, I don't know, the correlation between someone who not lets things go, but kind of like handles things to the best that you can. And I was thinking today about prayer and how, I guess, maybe that's one of the things. I think prayer functions as a lot of things. It's, a way to talk to God and kind of build that relationship. But I think that also it's a way of letting things go without doing nothing about them. Like, if you have a situation that's out of your hands and you have to sort of accept it, but at the same time, just sort of accepting it and like forgetting about it feels like you haven't really, I don't know.
Squared it.
Yeah,
Settled
exactly.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you settle it in prayer and you move forward and you say, God, if there's anything else I need to do with this, you got to bring it to me. Other than that, I'm letting this thing go.
Right.
And then you can probably find this is just something that I'm starting to practice within this week, because we've been dealing with a particularly difficult person.
A bitterness-inducing person.
Yeah. And so it kind of like, it can drum up things. It has drummed up things in me that I didn't think was possible. Like, there's some things about myself that I would say, okay, I would never.
That person's extremely talented at drawing.
Yeah, but I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't know I was that type of a person. Oh, wow, I didn't realize that I was that type of a person.
Yeah.
So
if anybody doesn't believe in original sin, they can hang out with that person for a week and
see how you feel after the end of it.
And you will be, well, when you look at what she does and you look at how you react to what she does, you'll be convinced of hers and your sinfulness.
Right. So there's kind of that going on, and then especially because, when someone, I think that we can handle pain that comes toward us easier than we can handle pain that comes toward people that we love. And I think that, like, that's why people would say, I would take a bullet for you, or
100%.
I would rather go through that than you go through that.
100%.
So when you see people that you love going through pain and stress and
their kids, I mean, it's our kids.
It's I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but it's extremely difficult, and it makes you very. So, I've been dealing with feeling this like anger that comes up, and I want to do something about that anger, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not going to assault somebody. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like, it puts you in this place where I just was feeling like bitterness just like coming up, because there's just so much anger that's just sitting there stagnant. There's nothing to do with it. And so that's what I was kind of thinking was, okay, well, this is an avenue for prayer, because it's like, okay, I need to do something about it. So I'm going to pray about it, and then I'm just going to let it be, because there's nothing else that I can do in this particular situation.
And if you don't, then you become vulnerable to the whole kill your enemies thing. And, like, obviously this is sort of an apocalyptic type song, but at the same time, like, you can get, principally when it talks about killing your enemies, there's multiple ways to kill someone. You can kill someone online, on Facebook, or whatever. Like, we don't have to literalize it, but like, the inclination that human beings have toward vengeance and toward taking out your pain or whatever on other people, especially when you're in a fearful situation like a global flood or something like that, and you're and you're trying to stay alive, and you're scared to death, and you're terrified. There are just so many angles to it. Like, for example, when there's a disaster, people end up becoming very violent because you can control violence. And if you can take all your fear and anxiety, you cannot control.
That's the thing.
You can't control a global flood. But if I can make that person in front of me the locus of my troubles, I can control that and violently get out of it. So psychologically, I tell myself, okay, I'm not completely powerless here. I've solved the problem. So that line is pretty crazy, and that's how demons attack. I mean, that's how
crazy. I've solved
that's how
the
it
problem
goes.
when you really haven't. You know, most times when you put violence to something, very, very rarely does that actually solve a problem.
Yeah.
It can create new problems. It can exacerbate the problems that are currently there.
100%.
But then I guess that's when you think. See, I guess if you don't believe that prayer has any significance or that prayer is anything at all, then speaking into the air, well, I guess even from a scientific perspective, there's still the power of positivity and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So even if
God,
you don't, it's still a good thing to do.
That's because God wired the universe that way.
Right. Exactly.
Like if you are hungry and you eat, whether or not you believe in God, you're going to get those benefits. And so whether or not you're a full believer, I remember one time, I'm not going to say, but we had a villager who's like fringy Christian. Tina's a Christian. She was looking for a job, and we're like, yeah, we'll pray for you, whatever. And then one of our atheist friends in our Bible belief prayed for her, and then like 24 hours later, boom, she nabbed the job.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so it was one of those things where it was like, you know, like, there you go. But yeah, like the way to get protected.
That's right. Remind me to tell you that other dream about that. Go ahead, carry on.
The way you were dreaming about Ian?
No, it was just no. No, I guess I should just say it now.
Ian, you're the man of Sori's dreams.
That got a little bit weird. No, I had this dream that we died. We were in heaven, but it wasn't like, oh, you know, it was just like we were there, and you knew, like mentally, like this is where we are. We're there, and
finally,
there was like all these things. You know how it says like, you know, basically Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. Or, you know, if you give somebody a drink of cold water, it's like you're doing it for him. Like anything that we do, any kindness that we do toward other people is, I don't know, like how you would explain that in not a weird way, because that sounds weird.
What?
Like what you do for somebody else, you do for God. Like maybe because all the people are his and he likes it when we help other people. I'm not really sure. How are you going to explain that?
I don't need to explain. Just go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, in the dream, we're like, all these people kept coming up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. There was like bunches of people that because of the channel we've helped, and like, there was just like this person and that person and that person and that person, and Patreon has made it so that we've been able to help a ton of people. And so there was all these different things where I like forgot about kindnesses that we've done in our lifetime, and there was so many of them. I was like, but in my dream, I could remember all the different ones, and it was just really interesting just to see that, you know, I don't know, God has enabled us to be able to do a lot of good things in the world around us.
And it's majority atheists.
Yeah, I know.
Majority of our patrons are atheists. So
thank you, atheists, for funding our...
Which means whatever we did, they did.
I know.
Because Jesus says, if you give a prophet a cup of water, you get the prophet's reward.
Right.
So whether they're on the team or not, they're going to get rewarded somehow.
That's
by
so
God
crazy.
for what they did.
That's so crazy.
Because we all did that together. And we never, since the inception of the channel, have done anything by ourselves. It's always been not only our patrons, but just our folks in general. Mm-hmm. You know, like we've had so many people organize things and whatever, people are in trouble or whatever. The March Madness thing that just happened. Like,
I'm not trying to say that everything we do with Patreon is like giving to other people. We obviously live off it too, but you guys are all a part of it, so that's pretty crazy. But anyways, it was just cool. Really cool in my dream because I was seeing it like boom, 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 boom. There was all these things that were happening like that, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a lot of things. But
yeah. So long story short, if there's a demonic invasion, the way to stop them is to not fight. That's not fight each other. I see through all you do.
I don't understand. Take back my life. Take back my senses. Why are we here? Take back life. Take the life from my heart. You know what's interesting? I was talking to one of my atheist buddies one time, and he made, I don't know if he made I think it's an argument. He made an argument that I'd never heard before, and I laughed, and then I felt bad afterwards laughing, but it wasn't laughing like you're an idiot. It was laughing like it just seemed at the moment to be a ridiculous complaint to me. Okay. But then after a while, I was like, oh. He basically said that God was immoral because he imposed life on us without asking us permission as to whether or not we wanted to be alive.
Oh, that's like on The Incredibles.
And I had never heard that before, and I was like, what? You know, like I thought I was like, you're joking, right? He's like, no. And you know, again, initially it's like, it was just hilariously funny. Like, how could he ask you permission unless you were alive in the first place? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He would have to bring you into existence somehow, ask your permission, and then evaporate you. But even having to ask your permission, he would still have to create you without your permission.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because let's say that we had some existence before we had existence on this earth.
Right.
And then he was like, is everybody complicit with this?
Right.
You would say yes, and then it's like on Men in Black when your memory's gone, so you don't realize that you gave your permission. But you know what I mean? Like, who knows what there is? There's a scene on The Incredibles where the guy jumps out of the window to kill himself, and Mr. Incredible saves him, and then the guy tries to sue Mr. Incredible because he's like, I didn't want to be saved, and you saved me. So,
right. So when you look at that lyric, because this is one of the reasons I constantly review debates or whatever that I've been in, because I'm like, wait a second, what was underneath that?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And what's underneath that is that the guy, things are very, very difficult for him. He doesn't want to live anymore, and he's like, I was not asked this. And if you really think about it, being alive, being conscious is terrifying. C.S. Lewis talked about that. Like, he was talking about, like, he was like describing people's faces and things like that. And he did it. He was so brilliant. He made it sound scary. It's like you're here. Like, sometimes, like, I'll be in a plane or whatever. I'm like, yo, I am 30,000 feet in the air. That shit is just great. But it's like, I don't know how to explain it because, I've talked about this to you where, like, sometimes, like, I have these out of body moments where I'm aware of the fact that I'm aware of myself.
Yeah.
And it's extremely terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's scary to me, but it's like the fact that I'm here and it's like there's all these people and they have all these different. It's just it's frustrating because I don't know how to explain it. But there's a lot of times when now I can do it. Like, I can do it on command. Like, I can get to that state of mind. Whereas before, when I was a kid, it would just like happen to me in like these strange moments when I was like found myself by myself and all the rest of it. But like, and Jung talked about this too, like the terror of self-realization or whatever I think he called it. And it's just like, holy shit, man! Like, you're here, and the other thing is like, why am I here, and who put me here, and where are we going? And I don't care what you say you believe or you don't believe. These are ultimate questions that everybody asks, and nobody, Christians or otherwise, has a non-terrifying response. So it's like, oh, you're here on accident. There's no purpose for you being here. Okay, holy shit. Oh no, you're here because God made you, and you're going back to God. Like, oh, there's this being that can just speak, hold galaxies into existence. I don't want any part of that guy.
And what do you mean I'm going back to him?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see this guy.
Yeah.
And he's gonna like.
There's a lot of question marks.
Either answer is terrifying. So like, when he's saying like, basically take back my life, take back my senses, that's a really good one. I heard probably the craziest definition of death ever from Jordan Peterson, where he talks about messianic archetypes, and he says the hero sacrifices his consciousness for the sake of the collective. I was like, holy shit. Like, describing death as sacrificing one's consciousness. And I really sat and thought about it. I was like, holy moly. And then I think about it. I'm like, that's what we're all afraid of. What you're afraid of in death is sacrificing, losing your consciousness forever. That's what we're all terrified of. Of course, people go, well,
No.
I'm terrified of the fact that I might be conscious after I leave my body.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm terrified of.
Right.
But it says to me, well, if death was only the sacrifice of consciousness, how could we possibly be afraid? If that's the case, you should be terrified to sleep. You should be terrified to go to sleep. But as a matter of fact, when you're run down through the day and you're tired, you want to go to sleep. So if dying is simply just taking a very long nap, why are we terrified of it?
Well, not everybody is looking forward to sleep. Some people are terrified of sleep if you get particularly terrifying dreams or things like that. So I think that the idea that we don't definitively know what does that look like when we get to the other side. So when we came into existence here on the planet, we came in slowly. Like, yeah, your birth was, you know what I mean? But you slowly came into the understanding of yourself. Where the other one, what's it going to be? We are a fully functioning mind now. And then when we die, will our minds be fully functioning as it is? And what is that place that we're coming into? Is it going to be like the creepy explanations of a DMT trip? Or are we going to know even as we are known, and it's going to be one of the most amazing experiences we've ever had?
Yeah, but when you talk about the common fears, spiders, heights,
death and public speaking are right up there.
You never hear sleep listed on that. So an individual could be afraid of a nightmare, but most people actually look forward to sleep when they've done enough hours awake. So we look forward to our consciousness being shut down. So what I'm saying is, okay, well, if death is
mine doesn't shut down; it moves to another place, and I have good dreams.
Right, which most of us do, but you know what I'm talking about. There's the subconscious, and then there's the surface consciousness. So the surface conscious is out, and your subconscious takes over, whatever. But it was just a fascinating thing to really, really think through. So
what ends up happening here?
So they go back, they're fighting, the silent count is over, though life we know it has come to an end, enlightened ones were chosen to stay. So there's some people that survived the natural disaster and the jihad, and they were basically chosen to stay. This is again kind of like the other one Wakator had, where you had this sort of cataclysmic event and then a new beginning. And it looks like that's what's happening. Me, the creator of life, thus our allegiance you broke, therefore you'll perish to none. I am the bringer of light, and now with vengeance I'll strike, watching the cleansing of earth. I see through all you do. And that's creepy. That is either God speaking or the devil speaking.
Because I don't understand. Take back my life. Take back my senses. Why are we here? Reach out and try one last time.
Where are you reading
down.
From?
By my hand, you'll live again.
Oh, well, I think there's two people talking. I think what's happening here is he's saying, I don't understand, take back my life. And then it said, take back the life from my heart. And then the response is, well, the silent count is over. Though life we know it has come to an end. Enlightened ones were chosen to stay. I think that's like basically like a narrator. Like all this stuff has happened. And then here comes another character, either God or the devil. Me, the creator of life, thus our allegiance you broke. So me, singular, the creator of life, thus our allegiance, that is the allegiance that you and I had, or another way of saying that from a biblical perspective would be you broke covenant. So we had some sort of deal and you broke that covenant, therefore you'll perish. I am the bringer of light, and now with vengeance I'll strike, watching the cleansing of the earth, I see through all that you do. So that's probably God, because we're in the Western world. That's probably God, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we got away from it. We survived. And God's like, no, I'm going to come back and strike the earth somehow and destroy everything still. So, and that song is like right smack in the middle of the record. I don't know, the name of the record. The name of the record is Heavenly Ecstasy.
Yeah, Never Walk Alone.
First song is Contact. The Master's Voice. Right there, the Master's Voice. Yeah. So there's some divine being. Maybe one of the Elohim, maybe somebody from the Divine Council, maybe God himself, who knows? It could be all three. And then look, song 11, When Angels Unite, that type of thing. So yeah, it just seems to be like the lyricist is trying to work through the struggle of that throughout human history. It's a good song lyrically. What do you give it?
See this album? I gave it a 9.2. you see this album cover?
It's very
It's got
detailed.
like angels here, an angel here, a bunch of angels.
Yeah, surrounding
around
this woman, right?
Fiery.
That's a woman, right?
Oh, is that a woman? I thought that was another angel
Yeah,
laying
she's
there.
right there. That's her face.
Oh, it is a woman.
Yeah.
I thought that was an angel and they were all around. That's very interesting.
I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 angels around this one little lady. And maybe the lady used to be an angel and she fell. Right? I mean, it's kind of like...
The ecstasy. Interesting.
Yeah. So there you are, dear listener.
Oh, 9.2. What do you give it?
9.1. There you
Wackator.
are.
There you have it.
Wackator, man. You get some good taste, my G. If you, dear listener, would like a day dedicated to yourself, just do 3 requests and we'll give you the whole day. Then out.
Sorry out.
Down. Aren't we doing that with that other guy?
There's a couple
PayPal
people,
dude?
I think, that...
There you are, dear listener. Been out.
Sorry out.
Gone.